You finally ditched the cooler for a camping fridge, only to find it's just a more expensive way to ruin your food and kill your camper's battery by morning. Now you're stuck worrying if you'll have enough power for lights, fans, or even to make it through the night, let alone the weekend. Out of everything at my campsite, only one thing still causes me stress: the fridge. In this video, I'll show you 7 reasons why, and the fridge I'm testing that might finally fix that. Before your tires even hit pavement, your fridge is already picking a fight with your battery. Now, I have the luxury today of being plugged into the car, but typically this is in the trailer just like you guys, and so before I even leave my driveway, I'm thinking about the power fight back in my trailer. I'm sitting in the driveway here, already negotiating with my lunch meat. Most campers trust their fridges to keep things cold during the drive, but here's the kicker. Fridges pull more power than anything else in your trailer. More than lights, more than fans, even more than that old mini projector you swore you'd only bring once. Fridges drain more than all your other camper power needs combined. And if that fridge drains your camper's battery mid-drive, on day 2 of camping, say goodbye to your lights, your fan, your phone charger, your heater. And if your battery goes down, so does dinner, and bedtime, and your marriage probably. No, you wouldn't let that happen. You're a good Boy Scout. So what do people do? Most people panic buy their way out of the problem. Solar panels, additional power stations, DC to DC chargers, alternator chargers. I don't know if that's really preparation. It's more like panic shopping with a credit card. So I bought this one right here because some guy on YouTube said it was essential. Still in the box, but emotionally very reassuring. This Anker Solix EverFrost 2 fridge, wow, that's a mouthful. This fridge doesn't use your camper's battery to keep food cold. It powers itself. Even if your kid yanks the plug out to charge the projector, your food stays cold. But it's not just about traditional camp fridges draining your battery during transit. I've had this next problem happen to me more than I want to admit. You load up your cooler, drive for hours, and somewhere along the way, that 12-volt plug falls out. Maybe you hit a rough patch of road. Maybe your dog kicked it loose. Maybe your kids knocked it out throwing in their bikes. Either way, you don't notice it until you're nearing your final destination. And you realize your food has been sitting in the warm car the entire trip. So as I pull this plug, you can probably hear the hum. This fridge, no more worrying about loose connections because it runs on its own battery. There's no risk of mid-drive or campsite cigarette adapter failure. Now, for those of you who are using a traditional fridge with a cord, it's really simple. I've been doing this for years. So you just take an O-ring, maybe 2 sometimes, place it over this, and then once you stick it in here, that O-ring gets pushed in there, the connection's still good, and you're never gonna lose this cable again. So like I mentioned, even before you reach camp, your fridge might already be creating problems. But the real stress usually comes after you arrive. You've made it, found the perfect campsite, time to set up, settle in, and wrestle your fridge. So every trailer has a different location, stationary for the fridge, right? This beanstalk, the power is located here on the tongue, and I think it's convenient for me to get from the galley kitchen here to this right here. It's like walking from my kitchen sink to the fridge at home. But if you ask May, she's gonna tell you this is much too far. So for her, We've been a bit spoiled. We've always had our fridge next to our prep area. She wants this fridge right there next to her when we're cooking. If your fridge needs constant power, it's stuck wherever the power source is located. And if you don't have a built-in galley, that usually means the most ideal place to set the fridge is usually too far away to reach the power source. What if you want it closer to where you cook, the picnic table, or just somewhere it won't get stolen? So they do make 12-volt extensions. I have a long red one I run around, but when it comes to fridges, they can be pretty finicky. That extension oftentimes will cause like an error code, and just moving any 12-volt product around camp, it can be pretty difficult. As someone who makes these YouTube videos, I find myself being able to justify these high-dollar purchases and throw them out like on a tongue like this because, it helps me sleep at night. I'll tell myself I'm buying it and throwing it up here so I can test the dust resistance, the water resistance. If for some reason it did walk away, I can teach you guys how not to get something like this stolen when camping because I'll come up with a solution. But for most of you, that is not how you operate. And so I've had a lot of you reach out to me and say, you want to buy a bare bones trailer, but you don't like the idea of putting an expensive fridge on the tongue. And I completely get that. This Anker Solix fridge, it goes where you want it. Thanks to its built-in battery, you can move it anywhere. This fridge doesn't care where your outlet is. No extension cords, no walks back and forth to the tongue, no limitations. The fridge finally gets to join the party, and these huge wheels definitely help. But now that the fridge is in the right place, you just have to keep it running. Much easier said for this fridge than a traditional corded fridge. Everything's working for this plug-in 12-volt fridge, for now. But here's where the real game starts, outlasting your battery supply. I hate this game. Like I mentioned, your fridge is the biggest draw on your system. And that means lights, fans, and devices now have to compete for leftovers. And if you don't have adequate solar coming in, do I run the fan tonight? Should we wait to top off our phones when we head home? That fridge that was supposed to make your camping easier has now become a liability. And now I have this great little 12-volt fridge plugged into the battery system of my trailer, and this rolls in. You start doing mental math. Cut the fridge or cut the lights? Shorten the trip? Feels like I'm forced to choose between cold eggs and comfort. This fridge runs independently. Your camper battery stays fully charged. But what if this wireless fridge runs out of its own power? Well, you can keep those lights and fans on. This fridge has pass-through charging. When your fridge needs a top-off, it'll charge from solar or your vehicle without messing with your main system's battery or the food inside the fridge. I didn't just gain battery life, I gained breathing room. With your fridge off your camper's power grid, you're free to stay longer, stress less, and actually enjoy the campsite. Doesn't sound like a big deal. I mean, we came out here to camp, right? Do we really need lights, fans, fridges? No, not really. But when you plan your trip around them, they tend to have a bigger toll on you mentally than you would expect. And here's the part I didn't explain well enough earlier. Most lights and fans use surprisingly little power. You can run them for days, even a week without additional solar. It's the fridge that chews through your battery like trail mix. So moving the fridge off of your camper's battery system changes the entire equation. But the problems are just beginning. I don't have to bring this in. With the waterproof rating, it can stay out there. But I'd rather not get rain all over it. And then just with this one battery, in this weather, this temperature, we're in 70s today, this will go a couple days. And then once that sun comes back, We'll just hook this up to the solar panel.
If you own a camp cooler, you've wrestled with this: uneven cooling.
This used to be produce. Now it's a weapon.
Most 12-volt fridges cool from one corner. And unless you're mapping out cold zones like a meteorologist, some stuff's going to freeze. That's just part of what I call the Tetris game with small camper fridges. But does it have to be this way? This Anker EverFrost fridge cools from above, circulating air more evenly throughout.
Can you hear that? Come on, tell me you guys hear that owl. There's that fan kicking in.
I know you've all heard owls before, but there he is. There's two of them back and forth tonight. Usually it's just one owl. You hear that second one? There's the return call. Anker claims that there is only a 2-degree difference in temperature within the cooler. Your traditional coolers can be up to 9.7 degrees in difference. This means you don't have to play the where do I hide the greens game every trip.
I've been playing with these Govies again. You see me use these a lot in coolers. I've put them in every fridge, regardless of brand or compressor. There's uneven cooling. So I'm doing the same thing here. I've been duct taping it in there. The duct tape doesn't work really well with the moisture on the wall, so I'm using a combination of tape and just placing it in different sections to see if it really is even cooling.
Even cooling might not sound like a big deal until you now have to turn your produce into an impromptu soup to salvage the ice-burned veggies. You've heard me talk about this before. Or you have to clean out the fridge from exploding soda cans.
So I put drinks in every corner and height of this thing. Obviously, all the same temp, just what the Gobi shows. No frozen produce and no liquid yogurt.
I've only been able to test this at 78-degree days, so time will tell, but so far all the claims have been met. At this point, you're probably wondering, how long will this fridge last with the one supplied battery? Like I mentioned in the no-build cargo video, the more you camp, the more you realize you want to stay out longer. But the longer you stay, the more you have to worry about power. But your fridge doesn't care. It keeps running. One solution is to bring along a backup cooler. This allows you to supplement with ice to keep you out there a little longer. But do you really want to go back to using ice? There's a better way. This cooler saves you time, hassle, and money. Backup batteries, they add weight to your camper, they cost a fortune, and they take up precious storage space you were saving for other camp needs.
1 week, high 70s. A week later, it's snowing. That's elevation for you.
At a high of 78 degrees, my cooler greatly outperformed Anker's test numbers. On just one battery, when I returned home 2 days later, my cooler was still over 50% battery capacity. And this was because it gets pretty cold at night in the woods this time of year. They say this cooler will run a little over 2 days on one battery and over 4 days on 2 batteries. Now, remember, this test was done in a controlled climate at 77 degrees, so I'll need to test these numbers again this summer in higher temps. If you've been following the channel for a long time, you'll remember my endless refrigeration video.
We're talking simple boxes of power tied into simple solar in a way that can go and go.
A 12-volt cooler and a 285-watt portable power station attached to a small 100-watt solar panel. With just that combination, we never ran out of power. And it's not just solar power for top-offs either. In emergency situations, you can run this off your vehicle's power. All this is really about keeping your fridge off your camper's power source. Now, everything's peaceful. I didn't upgrade my battery, I just stopped sharing it. But wait, there's more! This is starting to feel like an infomercial.
Billy Mays here with Zorbies, the most absorbent material I've ever used.
Phase 6, dual purpose plus bonus use cases. This isn't just a fridge. Traditional 12-volt fridges only cool food. This fridge is also a power station. With built-in outlets, you can run lights, charge devices, even power your movie night. And then there are those little details you know I love. You have a bottle opener, a table, and those oversized wheels. My other fridges have wheels, but they feel like a tiny plastic afterthought. These rubber wheels are designed to roll off pavement. And I mentioned table. You have that toe handle that converts into a nice little placeholder for holding drinks, snacks, or becoming your next side prep table. We've talked about the drive, the setup, the stress, the salad, and through it all, this little fridge has just done its job. No drama, no babysitting, no duct tape or O-ring solutions. So where does it fall short? The first version of this fridge was what I'd consider a little bit obese. But if you look at this fridge now compared to my other 40-liter fridge, I think they did a great job slimming it down.
So this standard 12-volt fridge in the same size is a bit taller and a bit longer. And then this Anker is a bit wider. So let's just see weight, because I think that was my biggest worry. With these extra batteries, how much more is this going to weigh than a typical 12-volt fridge of the same size? Now, what I found here, the batteries weigh about 5.5 pounds. So you can pull them to make this fridge even lighter when moving it around. The fridge without the batteries is about 50 pounds. So you're getting about 56 pounds with one battery and a little over 60 pounds with two batteries.
With the fan built into the lid, you can hear that fan fairly well. It's a great white noise machine because it's a calming, smooth fan sound. But for some of you light sleepers, this may be a bit on the noisy side.
There's the fan rolling. And now it just turned off.
But the beauty of this fridge is that it now doesn't need to be next to you when you sleep. You can put it as far away from you as you want. This is just one piece of gear that makes every phase of camping a little easier, maybe a little more physically demanding, and a lot more fun. Thanks for watching, happy camping, and keep your power where it belongs. If you want to know more about the 12-volt fridges we use, I have an entire playlist for you here.